The Mariners have now won 6 in a row, and now they've got to keep going. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the series analysis episode of the Seattle Baseline Podcast. My name is Julian Smith, and I'm with Alex Hong. Well, Alex, last series analysis episode, we started off by saying the Mariners go up and down and up and down, and this is probably just a little up. The sweep against the Athletics, just a little up. Well, now it's a big up because we've won 6 in a row. So Alex, I'm sure you're pumped. Let us know like what's going through your mind right now.
Yeah, we swept a team that was pretty good, right? They had a good, it's not like we swept Houston like two times in a row. Okay, that, considering how they've been playing recently, wouldn't be that impressive. But we swept, the A's who were first place, although below 500, but still not a bad team by any means, and a pretty good team in the Diamondbacks. So got a lot of good things to talk about here. Because the team played well overall. That's how we didn't win by, oh, we got really lucky here, we did this thing here, things fell our way here. No, these were legitimate series sweeps. So I liked what I saw. We can get into that. Definitely should.
Yeah. And I want to get into the first thing that I saw. Attack the fastball early. The Mariners crushed the ball out of the field this whole series. Home runs everywhere. And so when you look at the pitch count though, from the opposing pitchers, pitch count wasn't very high. And so how did they do that? They had a clear strategy. They said, I want to hunt the fastball. I'm going to hit the fastball, hit it out of the ballpark. It's exactly what they did. So great job from the Mariners offense. They they destroyed the ball whenever they saw it, and this is exactly what I want to see.
Yeah, lots of home runs. We're back to seeing the home runs, which was the thing we saw a lot last year. Didn't see as much so far this year, but now it seems to be back. Maybe it's because, the weather's been nicer lately. That could be a factor. I think even last year we had somewhat of a slower start. Now we didn't have as slow of a start as we had this season where we were under 500 for a while, but that's a factor I didn't really consider where, maybe the Mariners just aren't built to do well in April, but there were a lot of good things on the offensive side. Lots of players to highlight, right? What Cole Emerson, we were worrying about him, like how is he gonna do up in the big leagues? Looks like right now, hopefully, knock on wood, for the time being, he seems to like he belongs, which is nice to see. I just remember, I still have trauma from seeing Kelnick come up and have no idea what he was doing. Last year, Cole Young at times knew what he was doing, but a lot of times had no idea. So it reminds me of like when we called up Julio and he was really good for us right away. Emerson's been leaning on that path, which is really nice to see. It's nice to see that. Hopefully things don't change after I just said this, but hopefully that keeps going. Julio's had himself quite a stretch. It's just ridiculous. I swear I saw something where he got like 13 home runs in this month of May or something like that. I don't know. It
10.
was something ridiculous. Or is it 10? Okay,
Yeah.
my bad. 10.
Which
That's like Cal Raleigh numbers from last year. That's insane. So, I got a lot of props to give to Julio.
Yeah. And Julio's 10 home runs is two more than what he's the most he's had in a single month in his whole career. And so the fact that he's doing that in the first half, the fact that he's playing as well as he has, the slugging numbers are incredible. The on base numbers could increase a little bit, but that's going to come naturally. He is fouling off a bunch of pitches. He's taking high pitch counts, and I think Julio Rodriguez is on that path to succeed. But speaking of success, the hit numbers. The In the first game we had 13, second game 9, and third game 11. We averaged 11 hits per game. And even the last game where we only scored 3 runs, three or two of which were from solo home runs, we still had 11 hits. And so the process with these Mariners, and I mentioned it earlier, the attacking the fastball early, it's working for the Mariners right now. And even though they're not walking, getting hits is enough to erase not walking. And so averaging 11 hits, getting 23 hits, or no, 33 hits this series, that's That's exactly what I want to see. And I'm thrilled to see how the Mariners are doing this, some of which are homers, some of which are singles, and they all balance out and Mariners sweep the series.
Yeah, that last game had no business being close. We got like 11 hits in that game, and then the Diamondbacks got three, and it went to extra innings. So, sometimes stuff like that happens in baseball. We could be a little better with runners in scoring position. Now, that won't really be a concern if we're just hitting a ton of home runs, right? Because, you're going to score no matter what, but definitely could improve there maybe still. So, there's still stuff that could be improved. And the walks, kind of like you said. Although, when you're getting a lot of hits, you can't really. The point of getting walks is to increase your on base percentage, but if you're getting so many hits, it doesn't really matter, in my opinion. So, there are some minor things to improve, so that really increases the ceiling of this team if you think about it, right? Like we could have been even better than we already were, right? We're not every series is gonna be like the A's one where we literally like dominated every single game. These games we played pretty well enough to win. And we honestly pretty much dominated. It's just we didn't dominate the scoreboard, but we had full control in these games, except maybe the first game I'd say, which Kirby didn't have the best of starts, and then we'll talk about a little bit later, but we had to use up basically our entire bullpen. And speaking of just pitching in general, right? So it's nice that we have Spire back, right? Welcome back, Gabe Spire, right? That really helps our bullpen out. And I guess because of that move, we've made the decision that we're gonna have Castillo have participate in the rotation again. So we're gonna do a six man. We're back to the six man. We're gonna have Bryce. And my opinion on that is doesn't really change from the last episode, where I think Bryce has played well enough for him to get his own individual start. I agree with that. I don't think the solution should be to move Castillo back to the rotation. I think the decision should be to have him as a bullpen arm. So, do you have any other thoughts to add, Julian? I know we talked about this last episode, but now with this more information, like I think even after what we saw, I'm not saying Julio, I mean, Castillo's not a bad pitcher by any means. That's not necessarily a bad thing to move into the bullpen. I think that would just be the best thing to do for this team.
Yeah, and it's all about efficiency optimization. And what I mean by that is when you look at Castillo's stats, his first inning through fourth inning, elite. He's been one of the best first four inning pitchers in the league. He's basically unhittable. Now you look at the fifth and sixth inning, after the 75 pitch mark, he starts to crumble. And when I say he crumbles, he really crumbles. So instead of looking at the part that says, hey, this is the part that he's bad, what if we look at the part where he's good? The first four innings, clearly, this guy is dominating. He is one of the best players in the league. He is borderline unhittable in the first four innings of his starts. And so by putting him in the bullpen and letting him pitch two innings every other day, what you're allowing him to do is you're allowing him to go out there, pitch the best part of his arsenal, basically. The best part of his game is going out there, and you get to put him in the leverage spots where the opponent is trying to score. Instead of having him go six innings and try to grind it out, you're telling him, hey, you are elite at this, at going first four innings. I want you to pitch first four innings as many times as you can. The piggyback situation was the start to that. The Mariners said in the first four innings, Luis Castillo is great. And so we're just going to have him throw four innings and then Bryce Miller goes five. The issue with that is that Bryce Miller, by only going five, you're limiting his potential. He could have easily gone six. He had five without giving up a single run. And so he could have gone six in that start, and you limited him to five because you wanted Castillo to go four. Instead of that, you could have had Castillo go two in the first game and then two in the third game. In the first game, George Kirby completely blew up. He wasn't good enough in that game. And so that's where you want somebody like Castillo who can go leverage two innings and then give you that strong two innings. That's going to give you up until the seventh or eighth inning. And then the rest of your bullpen can take care of that at the end. Fast forward to the third game, Bryce Miller goes six, seven innings. Castillo goes two. That's the end of the game. Same same two. It's a similar strategy. It's just when you optimize it, when you look at the statistics, should not Castillo should always be a reliever at this stage of his career, not the starting position role.
Yeah, I mean, look at that first game. It went to extra innings, right? We used basically everyone except Hoppy, I believe, right? Literally everyone pitched, like Brash, Ferrer, like all those guys had to come in and pitch, and that really taxes your bullpen. Now we got lucky. The next game, Brian Wu decided to have an unbelievable 7 inning. No, that was something like what he did last year. So great to see Brian. We really needed that. That was an amazing start. But yeah, in that game we got saved because then I think we only used Criswell and Hoppy. And then so that rested our bullpen for us on the following day to use anyone we wanted. Now we didn't need anyone because that was the piggyback game, but I think that would have helped because in case Brian Wood did not have that good game, then we would have been really screwed that game, right? We would have been really screwed game two. But if we did what you mentioned, where we have Castillo in, then maybe we didn't need to use a Bazardo or we didn't need to use, a Spire or one of those guys, right? And then for that Wu game, we would still have a chance where we would, implement one of those guys instead of, our lower end guys. So that's definitely a strategy that I think could have been better. I know it worked out, but this is not a results-based analysis, or else you cannot you should not base your decisions off just purely off of results. You should be based off the process. And I think the process of having Castillo in those situations would be more favorable for the team. So I kind of agree with you on that. I think that's what should have been done. Now it worked out, so I don't have complaints. But you definitely can see something change to Castillo where he is not the full-on starter. And I'm not exactly sure how they're gonna run this with a six man. I don't know if he'll be on a short leash or anything like that, like he kind of, was here, but be interesting to see. But if it goes badly, then we definitely need to make a switch because I'm still a little concerned because this is no different than just starting Castillo. He gets a little more rest, I guess. Every pitcher does, but yeah, I don't know. It's not. I don't fully like it.
Yeah, and with Castillo, if so, let's look back at the Brian Wu start. If Brian Wu doesn't go seven strong for you, if he ends up going 5 innings, you have to go through Criswell, Hoppy, and at that point, the game is probably close, and so you'd probably have to go to Spire, who is probably your only available leverage arm in that situation, and then maybe you have Ferrer available. Those are the four that you could have gone to without going to Castillo. Castillo, I think I want to make this clear. This is not a demotion on Luis Castillo. This is we are seeing him as a Swiss Army knife. It all starts when we realize that Emerson Hancock is playing like an all-star and you don't need Luis Castillo in the starting rotation. That's not to say that Luis Castillo is bad. That's to say that we have a luxury of not having to have all five of the starters that started in our rotation last year to be in our rotation. That's to say that Luis Castillo can basically do whatever he wants in the bullpen. And by having him deployed as a Swiss Army knife, you're able to start your starting pitcher if he does bad or if he is goes a lack of innings and the game is close, Luis Castillo can come in and shut down the that side. That two frames, that's Castillo's. I want Castillo to have the best opportunity possible to succeed. And this is what I genuinely think this is where Luis Castillo will shine best is as a 2 innings reliever, leverage 2 innings reliever in the bullpen. And so pitching wise, that's what I think. I'm really confident that Luis Castillo should be in the bullpen, pitching 2 innings every other day. And I think in terms of pitching, that's where I'm at. The Mariners have such a great rotation. The Mariners have an elite bullpen. It's just that the whole Luis Castillo situation, they have to be honest and they have to just say it. They have to be blunt about it, saying, this is what we want you to do. This is where we think you're great. And I want to put you in the bullpen because of this.
Yeah. I think it's time to move on to the Mets. The Mets, they're kind of similar to what they were last year, spent a lot of money, and it's not working out. And it's worse than last year because at least last year they were a pretty decent team. This year they've been a really bad team. They're tied for last in the division. They are a losing record, not much going on. They have the superstars, right? They have Soto, who's one of the best players in the league. Big respects to him. But outside of that, they got Semien, right? And he hasn't been doing very good in recent years, and no exception this year. Bo Bichette, he I guess forgot how to play baseball. I'm not exactly sure what happened, but not been doing well. So Francisco Lindor's hurt. So there are four ideal, like big name players. Three of them are not even contributing right now. It's only Juan Soto. And they have some other players who stepped up. Our old friend Jorge Polanco, he's not one of them, but he's, been battling through stuff as well with the injury. So, that's kind of how I see the Mets. Just kind of a disaster up front. All this money and it's going nowhere.
Yeah. And with the whole Bo Bichette situation, that's just sucks to be them. I'm like, I have no words. This is as bad as Bo Bichette's ever played, and
It's confusing.
yeah, it sucks for them. But you see Juan Soto, he's almost a 1,000 OPS player, and so despite his bad defense, he's playing exactly to what the Mets hoped that he would play. The issue with the Mets, though, is the pitching staff. In the first game, they're going to run a bullpen game. Warren is not a starter. He's only pitched one inning for them most of the time. One inning plus in the Cincinnati game 3 games ago, he pitched 1 and 2/3. So he can go 1 and 1+ innings, but that's about it. And you have the opportunity in the first game against the Mets to blow up their entire bullpen for the rest of the series. That's that's awesome. And so hopefully the Mariners can exploit that. That's the first thing that the Mariners need to do. And the only real batter that the Mariners need to be concerned about is Soto. The rest of the guys, other than no name guys that have only played for maybe 2 weeks, have any good stats behind them. Juan Soto is playing like an elite MVP all star. It's the only guy. So the Mariners, if they can shut down Juan Soto, the rest of the team, easy pickings. So in terms of the pitching side, like Juan Soto being an MVP candidate for the Mets, they do have a pretty decent guy in Freddie Peralta. I'm not going to say he's elite this season because elite would be under a 3 ERA. This guy's not elite. This guy is like Luis Castillo every other year, except for this year.
Well, maybe I think he's a little better than that. But, well, actually, Castillo had his peak. I'm just talking about like more recently.
Yeah.
He was on the Brewers last year. He was good for them. He was really good last year under 3 area, I believe. This year, he's one of their better pitchers, right, that they got. Nolan McLean is one of their other starters. He's not going to be pitching against us, I don't believe. I'm not exactly. Yeah, I don't because it's unsure who's pitching in the second game. I'm not sure. I guess their pitching situation is kind of messed up right now, but. I just think we should be able to take advantage, especially in that bullpen game. There's a reason why teams don't want to run these bullpen games because it messes up their bullpen, especially, it's kind of like if you're throwing a bullpen game and it's not going well, you kind of just have to throw the white flag. If you don't, then if you try to win for some reason, then you're really gonna mess up the next 2 games where you really could try to win. So that's kind of the thing. I'm fully expecting a series win based off of that and with the Mariners' performance lately. So yeah, and you told me, Julian, before the podcast started that their defensive metrics aren't too bad, but I'm a little confused on that because of the players on their defense. Like Juan Soto is one of the worst defenders like ever. Like he's
Mhm.
terrible out there. And Bo Bichette, he's competing with JP Crawford with worst shortstop defensively.
So Bo Bichette is actually third baseman for the Mets.
Yeah,
And
because Lindor, but Lindor's out right now.
yeah, it seems like being in third base, Bo Bichette's been picking it up a little bit, but it's that's not to say he's the best defender in the team. I mean, that's just saying that he's not as bad at third base as he was at shortstop. The It's confusing, but it's all about the scouting, and it's all about knowing where their weak points are. They don't have players like Francisco Lindor who play at an elite level defensively. If if the ball goes to Juan Soto, chances are you can run back home. If you have a like not too deep, like not shallow, but right in the middle, fly ball to Juan Soto, might as well run back to home plate. The If you tag, you can probably get there. And so when it comes to these players, I'm sure there's good defenders. I'm sure there's bad defenders. But when it comes to Juan Soto, we know for sure that if the ball goes to him, they should go back home. And speaking of defense, I want to talk about Freddie Peralta because Freddie Peralta is the guy that I think the Mariners need to watch out for. This is the pitcher that can, on a great day, can shut them out. Especially right-handed hitters are going to be struggling against this guy because he has a release point that righties struggle to see.
Mhm.
He throws the fastball 55% of the time, basically like Brian Wu. Actually, more four seamers than Brian Wu does. So, up at the top of the zone, Mariners hitters should be watching for that fastball before they look for the slider or the changeup, which he throws a lot of changeups, and sliders are mainly against righties. They should be watching for that fastball up because kind of like what Bryce Miller does, Freddie Peralta throws a fastball that has a lot of rise on it, which means it has a lot of spin compared to the velocity that it has. And even though the velocity is pretty slow at 94 to 95 miles an hour, Freddie Peralta throws the fastball that doesn't dip down. And so it's going to go over the bat. And that's how he's going to try to get the Mariners hitters out. But if the Mariners can do exactly what they did against the Diamondbacks, sit on the fastball, just crush it out to the outfield and over the fence, that's how they can beat this guy. And so Mariners need to just keep on doing what they're doing. Hunt the fastball and destroy it because that's the easiest pitch to hit out. If all things considered, the fastball is the easiest pitch to get out because it is straight and out of the hand. The the fastball velocity is faster, and so off the bat, it's going to go faster as well.
Yeah, relief pitchers aren't looking too great either. They got Devin Williams, right, to replace Edwin Diaz. And I know Diaz, had his injury thing, but Devin Williams has not been a good replacement, to say the least. And we talked about in the offseason how, Devin Williams might be a good addition to the Mariners. Well, it looks like it's a good thing the Mariners didn't sign him because he's been really bad this year. So, I don't know, maybe Devin Williams, his time just see, it's a little confusing to me because he was so good with Milwaukee, and then last year with the Yankees, no good. Maybe it's just the New York thing. Maybe either New York team he plays for is just not good. I don't know what to say there, but they don't have too much going for them. It's just a team that it's just the Mets. They spend a lot of money, they try all these things, get all these new players, and for some reason, when they join the Mets, they everyone forgets how to play baseball except Juan Soto, I guess. So, it's a sad team. I'm a little sad for their fans, but not really. I don't know. At
And
least they're
th-
not as bad as Yankees fans.
and this is a team that the Mariners should win all day long. And if they see Juan Soto coming up in a leverage spot with a guy on base, hold up the four, let him walk because I'm not taking the chance on him hitting a 2-run home run. If it's a 1-run, if it's a solo shot, I'm sure I can take the chance on him. Just don't throw something middle in the zone. But if there's somebody on base and you're barely winning by one, hold up the four, let him go. The other guys can't hit. Juan Soto's the only one that's hitting. And so that should be I think that should be the Mariners strategy because if Juan Soto's the only one that's hitting, take the bat out of his hands. No big deal. Just let him do his thing. So let us know what you guys think. Is intentionally walking Juan Soto the right strategy? I think it is. I'd love to know what you guys think. Um, Thank you everyone for tuning in. Check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and our beautiful faces on YouTube. Check out our Instagram. And as always, go Mariners.
Go Mariners.